What's good? I'm Quinn, otherwise known as Q in the Stew, and this is Writer's Room. Are we coming in now? Oh, my bad. Did I do? My name is Q in the Stew. I'm a spoken word artist, a writer. I do visual art as well, paint, drawing, sketching. By day, I'm an architectural designer, working towards one day being able to call myself an architect legally, professionally. And that's the most of it. You know, I like to cook too. That's like not so much advertised, but still creative. So.
That's culinary art.
Yeah, man. But that's more personal to me. You know, that's not something for everyone else because you know people might not like my food. Watch, I'm gonna solve this before you can even turn that camera off.
Can you walk us through your journey as far as what has brought you to poetry?
Yeah, so I would say my first time ever writing poetry, I was like a really little kid. I don't know where the idea of poetry came from for me. Probably just like through school and stuff like that. And I wrote this poem as probably 9 or 10 years old about just like, it was really cheesy. It was about not giving up on yourself and like being proud to continue to move through like whatever adversity a 9 or 10-year-old might be going through. And I like wrote it and then I ran off and did something else. And then my mom found it and was like, oh my goodness, Quinn, this is beautiful. Like, I didn't know that you were capable of this. And I crumpled it up and threw it away because I got really anxious. I was like, nah, you weren't supposed to see that. It was real weird. And so like, I've always had this kind of like ability to write inside of me, but I've never been able to share it. I don't know why. I was always super anxious about it. One time, I followed a good friend of mine, Just Cuz, to an open mic. And he, you know, I had been watching him perform for a while. And then I went to the open mic and I saw some other people perform. And I was like, okay, like, I know I can write like this. And, you know, I had been writing like that for a while, and actually that same summer, I took like a journal or a sketchbook that I had been working in, and the last like whole half of it, I just scribbled poems for like, I don't know, it was probably like a month. I was just writing new poems. And then like after that, it was just like, all right, I saw the open mic scene, I saw the spoken word thing happen. I know what I have been able to do in the past, and like now I have like this burst of excitement about writing, and I was just like, it's time to deliver it to people. So I started performing. I think the first one was at, I don't even remember, it was just like some random open mic in a park somewhere. I think it was in Akron. I did a poem there, and then I waited a while, and then one day I showed up at the People Poetry Slam at B-Side, and I spit a poem, and since then, that was probably like 2 years ago, it's just been takeoff from there. I've just been writing and performing as much as I can. So,
what has been your experience in the poetry scene since then, or what's been your most famous poem since writing?
I'll answer both of those. I would say that my experience has been incredible. Meeting new people, being able to express myself, and honestly almost kind of start to form an identity that I'd never expected. You know, there's a lot of people who give me a lot of credit for what I do, and I really appreciate it. It's also humbling at the same time because I'm like, dang, I never imagined whenever I first started writing poetry that people would look to me and expect the things that they expect from me. So that means a lot to me. My most famous poem is Fuck the World. It's a poem that I wrote maybe like a year ago, and I was literally just sitting in my living room and I was having a bad day, and I was like, fuck this. Like, and then I wrote about fuck everything and fuck everything that was going on in my life. Even if it was good stuff, I was just like, fuck that, because I was just in a bad mood. And I didn't necessarily mean all of it. I mean, at that time I did, but like, it was just like a big burst of emotion. So, and I feel like that's felt when I perform it. And people are always like, yo, we want to hear fuck the world. We want to hear fuck the world, which is cool. Sometimes it's like, all right, there's a time and place for that specific poem. But yeah, that one has been really cool, and it gets people really excited. So not only is it probably my most popular poem, but it's one of my favorites to perform as well. So the first time that it really gets people is I say, fuck every person who was born a little too sensitive. Fuck you, and especially the 2 cents you give. Fuck being broke. Fuck my car door because it's dented in. Fuck the house where my dentist live. I told you, bitch, my teeth are a little sensitive, so I'm not going to sugarcoat shit. That jacket's kind of fly, but the shoes fucked up the whole fit. And that's when people like typically lose it. They're like, ah! And then, you know, I gain the crowd back a little bit. And then I get to another part in the poem. And this part in the poem, people don't necessarily like that much. I say, fuck a gold brick and every piece of paper that bears its worth. Fuck minimum wage. Fuck pretending to care at work. Fuck going to church. I won't say fuck you know who, but fuck everyone wearing his merch. Take that how you will. It's still fuck every person walking on earth. And so that one tends to get people a little, you know, they're taken back by that one, you know, especially with the fuck going to church. And it's like, again, this is not necessarily this was a burst of emotion. So I'm not walking around saying fuck going to church. I'm not saying fuck the churches in general. It was a moment of, you know, release. And sometimes it's like, you know, those kind of institutions or setups, I feel like can't always be trusted. And I'm not saying that like the whole world of church and religion is corrupt or anything like that, but like sometimes it's like, no, like they got their own thing going on. I don't know what it is, but I don't trust it. And then I say, I won't say fuck you know who, but fuck everyone wearing his merch. And I'm not here to disrespect anyone's thoughts or anyone's beliefs or anything like that. But just because you think that you have this like birthright because of the things that you believe, that's not going to protect you from the way that I feel about it. Like if I don't like you as a person, if I don't rock with you like that, you being into that is not going to protect you from me not liking you. It's still fuck you, no matter what you got going on in your life. It's nothing personal, but it's fuck you just like it's fuck everyone. Like, so, but
Who's the you know who though?
the you know who is God in that poem. Because I would never say that. I would never those words would never come out of my mouth. Because I have my own personal relationship with God and what I feel that God is and what I'm here to do for God. But so that, you know, that's one step too far in my personal opinion. I'm not going to say that. But, you know, like people who think that they are God, like that's, nah, you're to the side too. Like I'm not here to protect your feelings or anything like that. So, and then as that poem goes on, I think people start to understand that this is like, it's not a direct attack at anyone. It's literally just like, fuck all this shit. Like I've had a bad day and I'm mad at the world about it. And there's no really logic to it, but I got to get this out. And I love that poem because I'll have a really, really bad day and I won't know why I have a bad day. And I'll say that poem and my day is better again.
In what ways have you connected with audiences through your poetry work?
It happens a lot. You know, the first time I felt that I connected with an audience, I did a poem about my mother and my relationship with my mother. And this woman came up to me after and was like I needed to hear that because I'm having a really hard time with my relationship with my mother right now and trying to navigate that. And for some reason, the way that you were able to articulate the way you feel really resonated with me. And like, I haven't been able to put that into words. And so like, she kind of got a sense of clarity about her relationship with her mother because of the way that I performed my poem. And that really meant a lot to me, because it's one thing to have people jump and clap and snap and do all these things whenever you're performing because they like the way the poem sounds, but like to actually feel it and actually be able to connect with it and take something from it, that's a whole different experience, and it's just as rewarding to me as it is to them. For them to be able to receive it it really means a lot to me. So, I would say that generally I connect with audiences by, simply giving away things that I typically wouldn't believe people would be willing to receive. So like I tell these stories that like I would normally in a past life like be very anxious about sharing these experiences with people because it's like I don't think anyone's going to understand this. Like, maybe people are going to judge me for the way I've handled these situations and things like that. But I think that I connect with audiences because I have a somewhat unfiltered nature to my writing, and it's like they're able to receive things that they never expected to receive because of that. Like, I don't want to hold anything back from my poetry. I want you to be able to get everything that I'm feeling, because you might connect to it in that way. So
when you think about your work and kind of talking about the audience, you talked about your mom, and then you also talked about even your relationship with God, or even your relationship with society's relationship with God, right? Mm-hmm. So what are some common themes that show up in your work? Like, not necessarily what other people see, but what do you mainly talk about as far as principles or anything like that?
So I've actually been thinking about this like for the past couple of days, totally unrelated to this. I just have been like, what is, because another person asked me recently, what's my inspiration? And the thing is, I don't necessarily feel that I have an inspiration, but I realized that like I am moved to write by everyday life, and particularly figuring out the way that life works. And I feel that I'm 24. I'm going through a period in my life where everything is crazy and chaotic, and I don't have the answers to anything, but I have answers to stuff that doesn't matter anymore. And it's like, so I feel like a common theme throughout my my poetry, my writing is kind of like, coming of age in a way, growing into this adulthood. 24 is adulthood, but there's still that kind of like teenage, influence to a certain extent. So trying to be able to navigate in a world of like independence, really, navigate in a world of professionalism, because I still have my professional life, I have my creative life, and I have my social life. So I would say that the most common theme is trying to navigate that and figure out how to best maneuver through all these different aspects of my life, and be a respectable person throughout all of that. Obviously we all make mistakes and decisions, every day, but learning to live with those mistakes and learning to live with the choices that I make on a daily basis, and where those choices take me and the people that I meet because of them. Those are all a result of everything that I've been kind of going through growing up right now. And I'm growing up still, and that's evident in my poetry, I think.
So we're going to switch it up a little bit. Describe your favorite painting. Which painting is your favorite, and what influenced it or what inspired it?
Ooh. Huh. Now I got to think about what paintings I have. I'm trying to remember what's out there right now. Can I look over here real quick? Yeah, I think the hand one's my favorite one. I think the hand one is my favorite one.
What inspired it?
So what inspired the hand painting was I had been trying to draw hands for a long time, and I couldn't draw hands. So I spent a month practicing hands. And I just drew hands and painted hands over and over and over. And then one day I was like, man, I just need like one good hand painting. And so I did that. So yeah, that's where the hand painting came from. I was like, and it was also like the first time that I had like taken like a really realistic approach to my painting. So it was like a whole new style. It was just like it was a cool experiment, really. So
when you think about details when you're about to paint something, because you sketch and you paint. So can you talk about the difference between when you're about to sketch something or paint something?
well, that's the thing. Sometimes those can be the same thing for me. Sometimes like a painting can just start off as me sketching with paint and just like playing on a canvas and seeing what forms pop up. But like sketching to me is kind of like a lot more natural. It's like doodling in the back of class. Like I'll be in a meeting all day and sketching and just drawing little things that that are just popping up in my mind. Like it's just my hand is doing the work, and but painting sometimes can be a little bit more planned out and mapped out for me. I'll sit down, I'll do a whole underpainting, I'll grit it out. I'll really sit there and focus on the composition and think about different rules of proportion and things like that. Like sometimes it can get kind of, scientific to it. Like there's a process to it. And other times it's just kind of like writing. It's just a release. Like sometimes it just, whatever happens. But I think that a lot of times I like translating that sketching into a painting. Because sometimes I've done doodles at work and like it's just like a little drawing that I did, and then I'm like, oh, I'm about to make that a painting, and then it becomes like I'll show you one real quick. Actually, I did this little. This is I forget what, I think I called it Rush Hour, and so this one started off as like literally a sticky note at work. I just drew this little alien dude and I couldn't stop thinking about going home. And so I was like, I'm gonna stick this little alien dude in a car. And I went home and I literally took the sticky note from work and I did a whole new drawing for it, like on sketch paper, 8.5 by 11 sketch paper. And then a couple of days later, I was like, all right, it's time to go on canvas. And so Rush Hour happened.
How do you make that decision on turning a sketch to a drawing? I mean, a sketch to a painting.
Sometimes like it's really just a gut feeling. Like I'll just look down and be like, oh, this is hard. Like, sometimes I'll draw something and I'll be like, all right, that's cool. And I'll leave it somewhere just so like someone finds it and it's like, oh, that's cool. Like that's a cool little thing. And then, but like other times, like I'll sit there and just like doodle and I'll look down and be like, ooh, that's tough. Like that, like I'll randomly be like, okay, the proportions on this are crazy. Like there's just something about that this needs to be developed. You know what I mean? So it's really just a gut feeling.
When you're in the middle of a painting, do colors play a role in the midst of like color theory?
They can. I keep color very basic, I feel like. Like color theory is important to me, but like color is almost an afterthought for me. I work mostly with like the primary red, blue, and yellow in most cases, especially when I'm doing the more abstract work. Yeah. So like when I'm doing work like this, like I keep red, blue, and yellow in it because it's like it gives a little bit more character to it, like a little bit more than just the black and white. I'll be honest with you, I'm scared of color theory. Like it's intense and there's a lot that you have to, like I know like the basic primary colors, I know the secondary colors, I know complementary colors and tertiary. Like I know a little bit about color theory and how to work with them, but like, man, it's difficult. I can work in black, white, and grays and all of that, but when you start to mix color in it, it gets tough. So it's usually an afterthought for me, just like what looks good, what feels good. I wouldn't say that my color balance is great by any means in a lot of my paintings, but It's fun to play with though. Whenever I do dive into colors.
What painter or visual artist influences your work the most? Do you have like painters and visual artists that influence you at all?
Yeah, I do. Although I haven't like been in a painting mind state for a while, so like it's hard for me to say that. Like this is like very evidently influenced by Mondrian because of the use of the red, yellow, and blue, and then the black and white. But like I also like I follow a lot of artists on Instagram. Like my favorite artist on Instagram, and I don't know if I'm saying his name right. It's either Layden Alex or Ladon Alex. He is crazy. Like he's my favorite artist that I've run into on Instagram.
Between poetry and artistry and visual art, what has been the most meaningful project you've worked on?
I would honestly say the most meaningful project that I've worked on is Searching for Home, A Journey Through Love with the Sparrow's Fortune. Visual art, even now, is kind of like, it's a lot more of a hobby for me, and I do it because it makes me feel good and things like that. And written work also, you know, I also use it as a way to, you know, express myself in a way of self-care in a way. But like working through that project with the Sparrow's Fortune was like, it was the first time I had worked on something as like a production. Like it was intense and it was a lot of work to work with 6 other incredibly talented people. Like the content that came out of it, like the writing that came out of it was just like incredible because of all the people that were involved, because of like the attention to detail that was involved. And I feel like it was the first time that I felt like it was a really validating process. Like for me to sit back and be like, wow, I'm in this room with these people doing such important work, you know, and we had a lot of really important things to say throughout that show. So at the end of that show, when we all like, you know, took our bow and did all that, it was like that. It was extremely fulfilling. Like I don't think I felt like that in a really long time.
Is there a particular goal or mission driving your creative journey?
I don't think that there is. Like I mean, yes, there's a drive to be creative. You know, it's a way to figure things out. You know, people have math, people have science and things like that. Like this is my way of organizing my thoughts and trying to understand the world a little bit better than I did the day before. Like writing is that for me. You know, and it's the same thing as digesting other people's writing. Like, you know, that whole process is like, that's what drives me, is just trying to learn. You know, I don't want, you know, it's really fun to be up on stage and perform and have people, you know, cheer for you and things like that. Like it's never been a goal to, you know, like be celebrated as a writer. It's always just been like, you know, I want people to be impacted by the things that I say, but it's not the same as being like, you know, credited for changing the world or something like that. Like that's not what I want. I just want people to feel me and be moved by the things that I say as much as I'm moved by it. So yeah, it's not like a big ambitious goal for me. It's really just hoping to make other people's lives better in the smallest way, if it is of any help. It's not a big thing for me. Like it's important to me, but it's just as much my life passion as waking up and breathing. Like it's just as much my life passion is right. It's just literally being Q in the stew. Like that's all it is. That is being in the stew. Like that is what it is.
Can you break down what Q in the stew is?
Q in the stew started off because I am an architectural designer. I went to architecture school, and being in architecture school, you're in a studio all day. Not the rap studio, not the music studio. We are in a design studio, like 15 hours a day, if I'm being brutally honest. So that's where Q in the stew started, because I was I was at my desk one day just doodling, and I literally just wrote Q in this because it sounded cool. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I didn't adopt it as an artist name until I became an artist, and I like thought back. I was like, oh, I got this in my pocket already. Like since then, I'm not really in the stew anymore, or not in the studio anymore. But I still feel like, you know, that's where I was my most creative. That's where I was always in a mode of creation. And so I've kind of adapted being in the stew to just being in a creative mindset, in a season of creation. Like, so I constantly am in the stew because I'm constantly ready to create and ready to be influenced and influence design and writing and all that stuff. So yeah, man, being in the stew is just a mind state at this point. It's not a physical thing. It's not me spitting bars because I'm not a rapper. But and I hope that name doesn't sound like I'm trying to be a rapper or something. But yeah, being in the stew is my mind state. It's my constant state of being. So
be in the stew, just period.
Thank you, Writers Room. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. That's all. Love you. Bye.
First take, Drake. One take and we done. Just like
That was like me like hitting a little thing. Like this.
Oh, the cut, the action. Okay.